Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today, part 2 of the special box that we are building. We build the top, the bottom, and the handle, as well as, you can't see it in this, but there's like an inset that we made out of walnut as well for the top so that it registers on the box. So stay tuned and find out how we did it. I decided to make a top and a bottom for this box out of ash. The reason I chose ash is a couple reasons. One, I think the contrast in color between the ash and the walnut will look really cool. When ash is a kind of a light wood, but once you kind of oil it, it kind of takes on like a real light tan kind of color. It's got some good, like almost caramel colors come out of it. So I think that'll look really good in contrast to the walnut. I was gonna go with like birch or something, but I thought that would be almost too bright. So I kind of like the subtle differences. I also, some cherry I contemplated, but I decided not to go with the cherry because I'm saving that cherry for something cool. So we had, say, a slab, a 1-inch thick, well, I'll call it board, a 1-inch thick board that we chainsaw milled earlier this year. We had that laying around, so I decided to use that. It kind of came off the mill like this. It was about 1 inch thick, but it was super tapered. This was our first board, or one of the first boards that we cut on the chainsaw mill, so you know, it was all right. You know, it was roughly about 1 inch thick, but real rough sawing off the chainsaw, and you know, it was what it is. So far up to this point, I've been using hand planes and stuff to plane this out. I did start hand planing this board. This was probably about 5 feet long or so, and very rough. So I put it on the bench and I started planing it out to smooth one of the sides out and get it flat and square. After about 2 hours of doing that, I gave up. And I was like, I'm gonna be out here all month building this box. By doing it this way, I kind of showed with the walnut side, you can do it with hand planes. It is possible to do, but at this point, Christmas is coming. This is supposed to be a Christmas gift. So I got to pick up the pace a little bit. So I cheated a little bit and went and used my thickness planer. So I planed the boards and wound up getting nice 1/2-inch boards out of it. So there is a little bit of snipe here. You know, I'm not going to lie to you guys and say, oh, I hand planed it all. So we got a little bit of snipe on it, but it's got it down to at least rough thickness. My planer I bought in my thickness planer, I'll say. I bought it in an auction a few months ago. Haven't touched it since. Literally just shoved the boards through it. It's not in the best of shape. It's very old, and the blades I think are dull. But it did get it flat, and it did get it pretty smooth. It's not as smooth as I would prefer it, but we're gonna take hand planes to it now and get it better. So I ended up with 3 16-inch-ish pieces. The best one being this. This is probably my straightest grain. It's the most clear board. It got one little knot here, and I got a little bit of a bug chew out there. I don't know. My thought process was to make this the top. However, I'm worried because the top is going to be not fixed to the box at all, that eventually over time, because it's one solid piece, that as it dries or hits humidity or something, it's going to end up warping, and I don't want that. So what I think I'm going to do is use this piece for the bottom. So my plan is to take this box, put this board on it, right? It's not, the bottom board's not flat yet, but I'm gonna take it, kind of trace this box, and then I'm gonna go an extra 1/2 inch out. So this board, the bottom will be a 1/2 inch bigger all the way around than the box. And then I'm gonna do the hand plane, and I'm gonna kind of use some tricks to round over all the corners so we have a nice radius around all of it. And then the box will be glued to the bottom. That should stop any type of warping issue because it's now affixed to the box, is my thought process on that. So that is what we're gonna do for the bottom. For the top, I have these 2 boards remaining. The problem is this board has a big crack in it. Other than that, it's fairly decent. It's got a little knot there. It's got a big crack down the middle of it that doesn't give me enough board space. This one does give me plenty and is very pretty, but it also has a knot that goes all the way through. I figured, well, I can clear that out, put some epoxy in there, clean it up, you know, and there you go. But I'm still worried about any cupping or warping issues as this thing, you know, ages or goes through humidity cycles and stuff. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to strip it. I'm going to cut strips, maybe 2 inch strips, 2.5 inch strips, maybe 3. I don't know. We'll see what I can fit, but it'll allow me to cut out this knot. And then I'm going to alter the growth ring pattern and glue them up into a panel again. That should stop or at least minimize any warping over time, and should hopefully keep it flat. The box lid is just going to sit on top, so we need something to be able to keep it registered to the box and it just doesn't slide off, right? I thought about, like, you know, cutting like a nice relief into the lid, but I decided no. I took the side pieces of walnut that we had left and I ran those through the thickness planer, got them down to 3/8 of an inch, probably going to be a 1/4 inch by I'm done hand planing it, but I got them thin. What my plan is with these is to square them up and then put them together and panel them up and make a bottom out of that, a bottom to the lid, so that registers inside the box. And I feel like the contrast between like the dark edges and the light sapwood will look really cool when you pull the lid off. So we're gonna work on that today. I still don't know. I'm tossing ideas in my head around about what kind of handle I'm gonna put on this, but that's what we're working on today. Tweaked my neck a little bit for some reason last night. I don't know why, because I'm getting old. So if you see me like favoring one side today, that's why. I'm not sure what's going on. First thing we're gonna do is get one of these sides nice and square. So I just described a straight line with my steel rule just down one side. I'm gonna rip this down. All right, flip it over on its side, get it in the vise. We're gonna plane this edge nice and flat and smooth. Dude, ash is so cool. I love this, like that there is like a bug hole, right? And like these little bug holes here and stuff, like just cool. That I like that. And in the wood, some people probably don't like that, but I do. Okay, so we've got one edge cut. It's at least flat across this plane. But we don't know if it's square 90 to the face, right? So what I'm gonna do now is, we're pretty flat off the thickness planer, but we still have just the slightest bit of warp from sitting overnight. These were 1 inch thick and I planed them down to a 1/2 inch thick. I let them sit overnight so that if any cupping or anything existed, they could kind of relax as it relieves some of that tension from the planing process that's built up in the board. So now I'm gonna plane this back to flat, and then we'll have a flat surface that we can register off here to make a 90, and then we can square everything else up. So let's do that now. Kind of reaching the limits of my planing stop, so let's raise the piece up a little bit. So my planing stop is just this piece of pine that I've screwed to the edge of my bench, and it's about a 1/2 inch thick. For most things that I do, it's fine, but when I start planing 1/2 inch or thinner material, it doesn't work too well because there's screws and stuff in here I don't want to hit with the plane. So I just take a 1/4 inch piece of MDF, lay it down, then I put the board on and I don't have to worry. That easy. Slide this a little bit. There. There we go. You can even tell when something becomes dead flat, it almost gives like almost resistance when it's on something else that's dead flat, like a piece of MDF. Almost like wants to stick. Like almost if you go to pick it up, it almost feels like there's a little like suction almost, which is cool. So we're dead flat now. Let me check. Winding stick, just to be safe. Oh, this hurts. But yeah, we're flat. I messed up my neck so bad. All right, so now we know this surface here is dead flat. Now we can plane this top surface back in the vise to make sure we are flat and square. So if I put my square on it, I know this is my planed, freshly planed face over here. So I can put my square on. Ooh, well, that's fortunate. I'm just that good that we're dead square. Note that this is our flat side, right? We still have a bit of snipe down here, but not a big deal. We're going to cut most of that off, so I'm not even worried about planing that out. I'm just going to, you guys can see that. So it's kind of like I put this is called a face mark, or a facet if you're over the sea, over the pond. So that denotes that this is our flat mark and it's pointing at our 90-degree edge. Then I take it, come to this top edge where it meets, and I do a little V to point at. This is the flat side, this is our face mark. So everything we measure off now will be registered off this corner. Okay, with our face mark here and our straight edge over there, I'm putting it down flat. I'm going to register my square against this edge, and I'm going to pull a line down the side to start getting our first 90-degree cut. There's a little tiny bug hole here, so I'm clearing that hole. I know I just said I like the bug holes and stuff, but I'm going to cut that out because that's going to be on our edge, and I don't want that showing in a nice curve because that won't look good. Okay, so we've got square edge there. We've got a 90-degree edge here. We are flat here. So now we can measure our distance and rip the other side, or not, cross-cut the other side, and then we'll have our board to dimension. Then we can rip our length down, flatten that, and then flip it over and flatten the other side. Let's do that. So I've got the bottom piece all planed up, flattened up, squared up. Everything looks good. We've got a nice 1/2 inch reveal all the way around the box. So now what I'm going to do is, I don't want these sharp edges. I want this to look nice and rounded. So I'm going to come around with a plane and I'm going to round all of these edges into a 1/2 inch radius. All right, so now we've got our box kind of marked out where everything's going to be. I'm going to start with the end grain first, so that way if I have any tear out when I round over these edges, they'll cover all that. So basically what I'm going to do is put it in the vise and go along the sides here and start 45ing them essentially, and then I'll start rounding it and start moving around to kind of make this kind of curved radius. Well, at least we're going to try it. I've never done this before, but I've seen others do it and it looked pretty easy. You know, what could go wrong? All right, so we've got our board in the vise, end grain up first. I've got my line on this side, so I know where to go to. The bottom side doesn't really matter, but you still want them to be pretty much even. I've got a fairly shallow set on my plane, so just gonna start with a chamfer. Actually, before I do that, so just pulling the halfway mark on the end grain here, just so that I know I don't go too far. Very shallow set. If you notice one side's getting too deep and the other side's not, just focus on the side that's not. Try to get good lighting. So basically what I've got here is just a chamfer on this edge where it's about halfway there. I'm probably not going to go all the way down to my line. That would be kind of weird, but I still want a nice radius. This is more of a line of, hey, just don't go past this. So I'm going to do this on the other side, bring it around to the same, and then start rounding it. Rounding up to my halfway mark and not going further. So I'm just, as I'm going back and forth, I'm rotating the plane ever so slightly with every stroke. Come along this side now. Do the same. So final step, I just got some 120 grit. Just kind of in the meat of your thumb. And just kind of run it over. That way any little ridges or little marks are just gone. They melt away and you have a nice radius all the way around. First time I ever done that, I'm pretty proud of that. Looks pretty good. That looks good. The matching top. Round the top over like that too. Man, it's gonna look good. I like it. Okay, so I came out this morning. If I sound a little different, I feel like I woke up this morning with onset of a head cold, so the rest of this video might be great. But woke up this morning, I came out, I cut down that ash into 3 2.5-ish inch pieces, which gives us a little bit more than what we need for our top, but it gives us room once it's all glued up to kind of plane it all square and true. So I've got these ready to go. I'm gonna get them into clamps and get them glued up so we have a panel. I found a good grain configuration that I like, kind of goes from light into some dark into some light, so it still looks like a nice dark piece of the grain going through with a little bit of sapwood on the side, even though it's kind of not sapwood. Still got some good spotting in here, and then the top of like bug holes and stuff, so I think it's gonna look really, really cool. And it's got a nice little swirl here in the middle. I've got these pieces that I planed down into like 3/8 inch pieces. These were our cutoffs from these sideboards, and I've got some cool light grain sapwood in it. I'm going to use these on the bottom. So basically, these are going to be a square that fits perfectly in this interior square. So I'm just trying to mark them out of like roughly where to cut them. There's a big crack here, which is unfortunate because there's a bunch of good sapwood, but I don't want to epoxy anything, so I'm going to cut here and here, and that should give us enough room. Then we'll square these off, and when glued and paneled together, should give us plenty of room to make a cool like strip of this sapwood through the middle, and then the heartwood on the outside. I think that'll look really cool. Okay. So we're now flat here. We've got a square edge here. I'm not worried about cutting the sides yet because I don't know the length, so I'm going to leave it a little bit fat while we panel it, and then we'll cut it all as one. So now I just got to get a flat edge on this side, this live edge. Got to get that off. I could rip saw it, but It's so thin, I'm just gonna plane it. A live edge can dull your blade on the plane a little bit, but I'm gonna sharpen it anyway before I plane these thin, so I'm not too worried. There's nothing really bad in it. If I was too worried about anything, you know, I could come in here and just kind of scrape this clean a little. Just a knife edge. That'll get any like initial real bad big debris and dirt off of it. The main thing is just you don't want metal in there, right? There we go, perfect. We'll clamp that up and you'll never even see the seam. Let's make a handle. let's make the bottom of the top. Okay, so this is the bottom of the top, essentially. I had a crack running through here that was leaving the wood a little unstable, so I filled it with a bunch of CA glue and then planed it smooth so that stabilized it really well. This is going to be the underside where it gets glued to the top, and then this is going to be our show piece, our show side. So essentially what I did was took our box, and this is our top of the box. So essentially what's going to happen is the lid's going to sit on top like that, right? So this is going to go underneath it so that it registers and the top doesn't slide around. So what I did was came in here and fit this to the box to where the top of where it's actually going to fit. So right now it fits in there perfect. I made it so that the end grain fits in here. It's not super tight. It goes in, but it's not, it's barely just hanging on. So I know that this way I gave a little more room, so there's probably, a fingernail's width on both sides. I don't know if that'll be enough, but I know with expansion and contraction, this might expand, and I don't want that to expand too much to where it locks the lid on and you can't get it off. So I may even take a few other, maybe a couple more passes with the plane on the side and the end grain, but I'll leave the long grain. I'll leave the end grain where it's at. I don't think that's going to expand much. These sides might come out a little bit, but I think these side pieces are going to help it from coming in towards the box. So I think we're good as far as that. I just don't want this to lock itself on. So essentially, with that being in place, I'll glue that to the bottom of that, and that now holds our lid in place where we can take it off and it registers. It keeps it straight every time. Now, given all the pieces that we have made, we've made in this turn our bottom, we've made our top, or our box, we made in the last time, the insert for our top, we made our actual top to the box, and finally we made our handle. I made the handle go the whole, well, not the whole length, but I made it a majority of the length of the box. Because I feel like it balances it out nice. I rounded the top just to the same as the bottom and the top, just so that it has that same kind of rounded look to it. And I wanted it big enough that you could grab it with a hand to lift on and off. That may be too big. I don't know. I'm still toying around, maybe bringing it down. But that's where we're at so far. That's it for today. This is taking a lot longer than I thought. Well, I kind of knew it was going to take a while, but I could have just hashed all this together in like a 30-minute video for you guys, but you would have lost a lot of the detail, and I wanted to show that. So I broke this up into probably 3 parts. So the first part, we made the box. This part, part 2, we have made the top, the bottom, the inset, and the handle. And then in part 3, stay tuned, we're going to do an inlay in the box, a special kind of inlay, which gives the box its purpose. And then finally, we're going to sand everything down. Once we get that done, we'll sand it all down and finally get some finish on it. So 3-part series. Hopefully you're sticking with me. If you like this type of stuff, let me know. This is a bit of a longer build, kind of different than my usual stuff. But like I said, I wanted to give a lot of detail, because at the end of it, I will reveal of what it's for, but it has a lot of meaning special to me. So I'm putting a lot of effort into this. Actually, you guys know me, if you've been around the channel for a while. Most Christmases, I'm just like inundated with making gifts and things for people. This has really been the only thing I've made this year, other than the candles and stuff, as Christmas gift. So I've been completely focused on this, and I'm very happy with how it's turning out so far. A lot of firsts on this. First time working with rough sawn slab wood like that before. I usually just go to the store and buy, dimensional lumber. As well as the first time I ever worked with really hardwood other than some ash. I've done a lot of ash in the backyard as far as hardwoods go, but usually it's either green when I'm carving it or something, or I guess I have worked a little bit with it, but I haven't really done any like joint work or anything with it. The most I've done is kind of, smoothed it out and slabbed it, or I've done some carving and stuff with it. So first time ever working with walnut or hardwood, second time doing dovetails. So there's a lot of firsts. This is the first time I've ever rounded over stuff with a hand plane before. That technique of, kind of chamfering it and then, kind of curving it and making those radiuses on the corners. Something I've always seen other people do, but I've never tried to do yet. So pretty happy with how that turned out too. So stay tuned. If you like this type of content, subscribe down below. Give me a thumbs up, comment, whatever you want. Stay tuned for part 3. So we're gonna do a bit of an inlay, and then we're gonna finish it and bring this box all together, and we'll go into what it's for. So that being said, it's cold out here. See you in the next one.